104, 7 seconds to play.
We're going to be talking basketball.
Dishes it to Barkley, who somehow finds daylight. Allen for the win! Yes! Let's go.
You are now listening to the 302 Birds Sixers postgame show with Dennis and KJ McCoy, proudly powered by TickPick. Let's take it to the show.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on into the Sixers postgame show. Just me tonight, Jess, with you to break down the Sixers' dominant, and I mean absolutely dominant win against the Washington Wizards, 153 to, I believe it was in the 130s. And all of a sudden, the playoffs, we're talking about playoffs? Yeah, we're talking about playoffs. And that all has to do, I believe, with Paul George. That dude was just absolutely outstanding tonight. Had a Sixers career high. The 9-time All-Star, I mean, shoot, he got things done early, knocking down back-to-back a couple of threes in a row early. And, yeah, it was just from start to finish, the guy was outstanding. 39, 5, and 6 on the day. Keeping the Wizards also in check. Their best player tonight got 21, so listen, the Wizards aren't good by any stretch of the imagination, but they have 17 wins on the year, so it's not the biggest thing in the world, but there's only a few games left this season before the playoffs start. And you really gotta beat bad teams, and you need to certainly do so. But just to go through what happened tonight, they basically dominated that fourth quarter. They pretty much, they ended things right away. They had a 22-point lead pretty much immediately, and this is without Joel Embiid. Not really sure what was going on with him tonight. Earlier in the day, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna play. What's up, Friday? How we doing?" And that he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna play. It's an April Fool's joke." And then he's like on Twitter. This is all on Twitter. And now he's like, "Oh, maybe they're gonna keep me from playing after all." So I'm not sure what's going on. There's been reports of like injuries and stuff. Not injuries, that sickness that he's dealing with. But honestly, it's like he wasn't even on the team tonight. It was just that much of a blowout. Just go through the box score quick for y'all. BG, like I said, in 30 minutes, 39 points. Tyrese and VJ combined for 20 plus. VJ had a double-double, 23 and 10 assists, 3 rebounds. And I mean, I know VJ hasn't had the best couple of games by his standards, I feel like. but tonight was a good one. And again, it's the Washington Wizards, dude. But I still take that any day of the week. The guy right now, he's still averaging 16 points per game this season, averaging 36% from the field and 82 from the free throw line. So, he's having himself a year that a role player should. A player at his age certainly should. And we had a good one tonight. Tyrese, 28 on the day, 12 for 20 from the field in 34 minutes, 3 for 4 from 3-point land. And, again, he's having himself, a solid couple games. But again, that's nothing surprising. In the last, couple of games, let's see here. Yeah. 23 against the Heat, 26 against the Hornets, So he's a walking 25-point guy at night. And this is what you need when, Joel Embiid isn't playing, And though I will say, I do think that he needs to show up in the playoffs. He hasn't for years, but I think there's a little bit more security with guys like PJ and Paul George. Seriously, the guy has looked like a completely different. Paul George has looked like a completely different player since he came back from suspension. I talked with Dennis the last show that we did. I was really concerned about how his attitude was going to be, because the whole reason he was suspended to begin with was because of a mental health drug that he was taking, which I support, but at the same time, I wonder if he gets suspended and he's not taking this the proper medication, then I worry, like, hey, what's going to happen? But it seems like he's been completely unfazed. He's no longer, he's no longer podcast P. That's what I was certainly concerned about going into things. But he's been a monster these last couple of games. He put up 20 against the Heat, 26 against the Hornets, 28 against the Chicago Bulls. And the Hornets, they're a good team. They are a very good team. They're 40-36 on the year. They've had a really hot couple of months, and it's exactly what you need going into the playoffs. But speaking of the playoffs, I know that my friend Adam on the Philly Sports Pulse show that we run tomorrow night at 7:30, 8-ish. Be sure to go check that out. He's been this entire time. He's been, this team is barely a play-in team, and honestly, if things keep up, I don't think so. I really don't think so. Because let's see here. Yeah, the Sixers, got a gift. They got a gift. Sacramento beat Toronto tonight, which I think nobody expected, and we now have the tiebreaker over the Raptors. The Sixers have climbed out of the play-in, heading into the biggest weekend, I would say, of their season. So we're certainly going to try to bring you guys some post-game shows the next couple of games. But the next 4, you've got going up against Minnesota without Jaden McDaniels. You've got Detroit without Cade Cunningham. I think he's still dealing with the lung issue. And then the Spurs, who, just beat the Raptors and then you've got the Rockets right after that. All really, really bad teams for the most part, but maybe the Spurs give you some run for your money, but I still think that it's still it's still a shoe-in for a win, and there's still time for you to make some room here, um, you know, eh, and make some magic happen. The Sixers and the Raptors are both 42 and 34, and because of the Sixers' superior division record, they're now the sixth seed in the conference, and the Sixers and the Raptors are both 1.5 games behind the Hawks and 2 games ahead of the Orlando Magic. Now, I'm not sure how that works, but wouldn't that be nice if the Sixers ended up getting the 5th seed and potentially hosting a playoff game or two? I seriously take Xfinity Mobile Arena. It still feels gross saying that, but I take Xfinity Mobile Arena any day of the week over, you know, especially God, if we have to play Cleveland, I take that atmosphere, over Cleveland, especially without LeBron any day of the week. And I take the Sixers, honestly. I take the Sixers over Cleveland, period. I know the last time that I was there and the 302 crew was there for, a game, we blew it in the second half and it wasn't really pretty. But I don't trust James Harden. I don't. And he's on that team. I know he doesn't, he's not the player he once was, but I still, whatever team that guy lands on, it always turns out to be a problem. He landed with us, and then what does he do in game 6 or 7 versus Boston? Nothing. The Clippers, he lands with them. What does he do with them? Nothing. The Nets, nothing. So it goes on and on and on. The guy just brings loser energy, and especially to Cleveland. Like, I'm sorry, that organization. Yes, they've got some nice players. Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell. He's a good player. But they've never screamed to me NBA championship level. Now the Sixers, when they're healthy, they absolutely do scream NBA contender, NBA championship contender at the very least. Now, you probably could. I'd probably see us landing in a conference championship against Boston, and no, I don't feel confident against Boston. That's where you probably draw the line. But I could see the Sixers making it a couple of rounds. I could. Let's check in with the Eastern Conference standings at this current second, because I still think things are close. Things were close. Like I mentioned earlier, the Sixers are pretty much 2 games, 2.5 behind the Hawks. You'd have to play the Knicks, I think, as well. It adds that, currently they're the 3 seed, and at home, I feel a lot better. It's on the road, I have some concerns, but we've shown earlier in the year there have been a couple of games that the Sixers beat the Knicks this season at the Garden. I'm just looking up our season record, but so far this year, I mean, we've mostly kept pace. This year we're 2-2 against them. Although it says that we're 0-2 away, I don't think that's the case. I thought that we beat them on the road this year. Let's see. Yeah, so they won their first matchup back in December. They won another one. Next game, and kicked our butts. And so they've had better success against us as time has gone on. But earlier in the year, we were fantastic against these guys. I mean, on the third, we put up 130 points in that one, in a game where Tyrese had 36 points. Joel had 30. So we know these guys enough that I think you could stop them. I don't trust Jalen Brunson in a playoff series. I don't. Karl Anthony Towns especially. The dude, the guy comes from Minnesota. So that doesn't scream to me like championship DNA. It doesn't. So that being said, I still think that that the Sixers, I think they would do good against the Knicks in a shorter series. This is all based on a shorter series, because my biggest concern with the Sixers right now, it's their bench. Tonight, they played solid, I think, but without Jared McCain, I don't know, dude. I don't know if I entirely trust, Andre Drummond. Shooting like 25 minutes, he put up 6 points. Cameron Payne, in 14, he looked pretty good. He was 2 for 2 from the free throw line, but otherwise, I'm good. Let's see, Quentin Grimes and Kelly Oubre, they both combined for 12 each. They were both 5 for 10 from the field, and they were both 2 for 4 from 3-point range. That's really funny that they had pretty much identical stats. But Kelly Oubre, they have tried to get him initially to be more of a defensive specialist, and they've been trying to turn him into this offensive player, and I don't know. To me, he's just not. Quentin Grimes, on the other hand, I feel like he is your, I don't want to say Jared McCain replacement, but it feels like they put a lot of trust in him to be that guy. And so far, it's actually been kind of solid, except for the game against the Hornets where he put up 8 in about 28, 29 minutes. He gives you, let's say 12 against the Wizards, 11 against the Heat, 13 against the Bulls, 25 against the Jazz, 27, so 27 against the Kings. And again, the Jazz and Kings, again, they're not good. They're not. And he struggled a little bit more against, a team like the Pistons and the Cavs. But still, even then, he put up 14, 17, and 26 against the Hawks back at the start of March. And now I'm sort of nitpicking a little bit, but this team they can go far. They can go far. And another guy, another duo that can go far, to me, it's got to be Maxey and VJ. Sorry, it's long day. But honestly, I would give Tyrese an A tonight. I really would. The dude was he was the Tyrese Maxey that you came to expect, and it's I trust him to show up when it matters in the playoffs, and I expect him to have a leading role. When he put when Tyrese Maxey puts his head down and attacks, there's nobody on the Wizards, and there's nobody, I think, period, that can stop him. He's just so quick, too dicey, too strong for anybody to stop the two-time All-Star, I might add. When the Wizards, I remember when they took a double-digit lead with Maxey on the bench, the guy re-entered the game and pretty much put the offense on his back again. He and George, I think, teamed up really well to put Washington away in the third quarter, and he was really able to have a ton of success against the young, rebuilding team. And the Sixers, they played honestly very well in that third quarter. I know everybody's like, oh, the third quarter Sixers, that's when they become the heart attack Sixers. Not tonight. They put up 47 points in that third quarter, the highest, quarter points that entire game, outside of the second quarter with 38. So maybe they're exercising their third quarter demons. I'm not really sure, but regardless, he and VJ, started. They both were really, really solid. I thought he started out slow tonight for sure, because I feel like the Sixers focused on that duo, like I mentioned, of Maxey and George early on. But the rookie, I thought he was able to make an impact on the game defensively and make plays with his passing until he found a little bit of a groove in the offensive end in that second quarter, and then he was just also a big time part of that third quarter where he just really ran the floor and found easy opportunities in transition. And again, he's a guy, when he's able to get ahead of steam and bolt down the floor, not a ton of people can stop him. And I think he'd do well against a team like Detroit. I'm really excited to see how he does, because I know Detroit is awesome this year, but honestly, I really don't think that this team, without their star players, is that worrisome. That may be a hot take. Maybe I'm a casual. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think this team is that scary. I know they're first in the Eastern Conference right now. I think, the Celtics might be giving them a little bit of a run for their money, and right now they're not. Surprisingly, they're 4 games out, so I guess it's anybody's game, but it's still, they don't scare me, dude. They do not scare me. The Cavs do not scare me. If I had to give you the teams that scare me the most right now, it's the Celtics. In the Eastern Conference, the team that scares me the most has got to be the Boston Celtics. They've had our number, God, in the playoffs for the last, feels like, decade. And they've won 1, 2, 3, 4 of their last 5. They beat the Heat tonight to help us out, which don't say a ton, but thank you Celtics, because the Heat, they're a pain in the ass. They lost to the Hawks. They beat up the Hornets. They beat up the Hawks. They beat up the Thunder. Beating up the Thunder is a really impressive feat because the Thunder are having a stupid impressive year. They're 60-16 on the year. That team, it feels impossible that they could have gotten better at the deadline, but with Jared McCain, it feels like they absolutely did. So really awesome night from the Sixers. I think A plus is about across the board. It was classic PG. Scoring in isolation, knocking down threes, able to get to the basket. Yeah, sure, it was the Wizards, but it was awesome all night. He seemed to make a statement that he absolutely can do this at a high level. He scored at an efficient rate and was able to get others involved. Dominic Barlow was able to make an impact as well in areas that I feel like don't show up in the box score. He set up a couple of screens that were really good.
Why do you have a hoodie on? It's 100 degrees.
But yeah, solid win for the Sixers. And sorry, I just had somebody walk in on us. But it's when I take any day of the week. Let's see here. Round things out. Let's go over the next couple. Actually, yeah, I still have that. The next game is at Minnesota without Jane Daniels, and not sure when I'm gonna have the rest of the gang back together, but we'll have a comprehensive Sixers post game in the future, hopefully very, very soon, with Dennis, KJ, and maybe somebody else. We'll see how things go, but awesome win for the Sixers tonight. 153 to 131, your final. The Sixers looking good. They have won 2 of their last 3. 3 of their last. Yeah, we'll say 3 of their last 4. After a tough one in Miami, tough win. Nice bounce back after having a little bit of a rough game in the terms of the field, in terms of points from beyond the field. Getting out rebounded sucks a little bit. And they had 9 turnovers, so Sixers were a lot better today in terms of just not making the mental mistakes, and that's what you need in the playoffs. They were able to get 9 steals today, so awesome stuff by the Sixers, and hopefully we'll be able to sneak into that 5th or 6th spot and give us a show back in the back at the Wells Fargo Center, the Xfinity Mobile Arena. There you go. I swear I keep saying that. I can't get the place out of my head. I still don't know why they still don't know why they changed the name. Whatever. But as always, just want to thank El Diablo's, X Pizza, Klondike Cates, and Take Pick for sponsoring tonight's show. And that's all I got. It's a little bit of a quicker show, but it's just myself. But we'll have hopefully the rest of the crew back in action to the next game that the Sixers play, and that is on Friday. So 7 p.m. game. Be hopefully live after another win for the Philadelphia 76ers, setting up a huge game on Saturday against the Pistons. But that being said, God bless. Oh, wait, yeah. Go like, subscribe, comment for the best Sixers and Philly sports content around. With that being said, I'm Jesse Sharon, signing off for now. God bless, and go Sixers.
104, 7 seconds to play.
We're going to be talking basketball.
Dishes it to Barkley.